to the Lewisville Council of PTAs forum, and I don't mean to have my back turned to you, but I want to make sure I got everything down. Hi, it's Teron Hicks. First order of business, I need you to please silence your phones. Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to our 2022 School Board Trustee School Forum. We're actually excited that you all are here. We have 7 candidates, 7 speakers. And so I'm going to go over a few rules. Then I'm going to turn it over to our facilitator, Miss Rachel Abel, right? Yes. All right. Boy, I can mess up a name. Look at mine, T-Ron. I'm just... And so we're going to go over a few rules. We're going to get started, and we're going to get you guys out of here because I haven't eaten. And I know that sounds like a personal problem, but that's just a T-Ronism. Candidates will have we're going to do 1 minute. Candidates will have 1 minute. You will have an open intro. You'll answer the questions and closing. Okay? 1 minute, intro, answer, closing. You cannot address another candidate. You will only be able to address the audience. Sounds good?
No, timekeepers.
Awesome. And so we have our incredible timekeepers from the Student Council, correct? Thank you. That will be holding you all to time. This will be the first time they get to tell adults what to do. So they're excited, aren't you? Mm-hmm. All right. So that being said, after you share, we'll draw, and then we'll go to work. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. You ready to draw?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Where's Liz? Okay. Get started. Yes, ma'am. And so when I draw number 1, that would be who starts? See what it says? Yes, ma'am. You know I follow directions very well. Place 4 goes first. And so that would be, who are my 2 opponents in place 4? That, I'm going to put them in alphabetical order. That would be Dr. Staci Barker and her opponent would be Miss Katherine Sells. Okay? And then I'll take a seat. All right. All right, Miss Rachel. So Miss Katherine Sells is our incumbent.
So you're going to have... Sorry.
Yes, because place 3 has 3 candidates.
You don't want to have them all go ahead and line up.
That's... Yes, ma'am. Told you I listened well.
Mm-hmm.
Place 3.
So those are the only... live bikes. The rest are in the back.
No.
Okay, we'll do it this way. Perfect. You're perfect.
Okay. All right, Sheila. Sheila, we're good.
Hi, good evening. My name is Rachel Abel. I'm next door in the Grapevine Colleyville ISD School District, and I was the council president last year with T-Ron, and this year I'm a field service representative for Texas PTA. So thank you guys for being here tonight, and thank you for volunteering to run. This is a big thing. Alrighty. Tonight, we're going to ask 7 questions, and you guys get to go first. So you guys are kind of the guinea pigs. The other 3 places get a preview so they can start formulating their answers, right?
Yes.
Alrighty. So we're going to do a minute intro each, and then we'll go through the 7 questions, and for each question you get a minute to respond, and then we'll do a closing. Alrighty? Okay, it's Dr. Barker, right? Okay, Dr. Barker, would you like to begin?
Sure. My name is Dr. Staci Barker. I am first and foremost a mom. My daughter is a middle schooler at McCamey Middle School. She's a sixth grader. I'm also a career educator. I've been a teacher, an administrator, and a regional consultant, and I'm running because we've seen a lot of political tension and tension between communities in schools, and so I want to make sure that we keep the focus on our students. I also know that we've been through a lot the last 2 years over the course of the pandemic. And I want to make sure that we put our teachers first and take care of them and support them so that we don't lose good teachers in our buildings. I want to make sure that we have safe and healthy spaces for all of our students and staff. I want to make sure that we have rigorous and relevant curriculum across the district, across all of our different schools, whether that's elementary schools, middle schools, or high schools. And then I also want to make sure that we give resources to all of our staff to meet all students' needs. Thank you.
Timekeepers, don't be afraid to say time. It's okay. It's okay. They will not spank your hand today. Okay.
I may have been the only one over here that heard the little bell.
Okay.
That's good. Okay. Hi, I'm Katherine Sells, and I am the incumbent in this race. I bring to you over 30 years of experience, or 30 years of living in this community, and almost 20 years of experience serving LISD. Started as a parent, I worked my way up to the Council of PTAs president, and then was actually a field service representative for the Texas PTA for several years as I continued to serve here as a trustee. There are challenges that we have seen over my 6 years. I never dreamed we would be at the place we are when I ran 6 years ago. But what I can tell you is I have tirelessly worked for the students, the staff in this community. We are a large community. We're not just one area. And I will tell you every week, I make it my goal to reach each and every community area in the 127 miles that we serve. I continue to meet with our teachers. One blew my phone up last night with, okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. And we're going to go the round robin style, so back and forth. So Dr. Barker, since you went first for your intro, Mrs. South, you're going to go first for the first question. I wear my glasses for these. As a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups who advocate the censor of existing curriculum perceived by them to be in conflict with their personal beliefs?
Well, I think that we have to listen to them, and we have to meet with them, and we have to try our best to share what we actually teach, what is actually approved to be taught through the TEKS. And I think that once we do that, for most of those, they appreciate to be heard, they appreciate the dialogue, and I feel like that we are elected by our community, and so we need an open door. And I think that this administration and this board, like I said, I meet with teachers, I meet with parents. Many of them have become great friends over the years when their concerns are heard, and they know that we are working to either resolve those concerns that they may have, and when I say resolve, I mean maybe giving them more information. But I always learn from having those discussions, and that is something that I would continue to do always.
Awesome, thank you. Dr. Sells, excuse me. I'm going to get everyone's names mixed up. Dr. Barker, would you like me to repeat the question?
Yeah.
Is, as a school board member, how would you respond to the efforts of special interest groups who advocate the censor of existing curriculum perceived by them to be in conflict with their personal beliefs?
I think the key word there is special interest groups. Absolutely, we must listen to our community and listen to our parents and our teachers when they have concerns. But sometimes those concerns, we've seen them come from outside of the district, from groups that don't have children in our district. And so as a former English teacher, it's really important to me that our students have access to all kinds of books and resources and materials, because they're going to go out into the world and have access access to all of those things. We need to teach them how to manage those challenges when they encounter material that may be counter to what they hear at home. Those are the kinds of things we need to facilitate. Now, if there is a real challenge from one of our stakeholders, absolutely we should listen to that challenge. And there are procedures and policies in place for that to go through. They already exist in board policy. So they should go through those appropriate challenges, and we can address them through that protocol.
Thank you. And now for the next question, you get to go first since we're flip-flopping back and forth. The second question is, how do you discuss topics where there is strong disagreement and remain civil? Said another way, how can the board work together with differing opinions?
I think the first thing is to listen, right? As Katherine said so eloquently, when people feel like they're heard, they have a tendency to be on your side and to feel that relationship with you. So that's the first step in any conversation, is that it has to be a conversation, and that involves listening. But I'm also, I have a PhD, so I'm into the research and the data. And so when we're having those conversations, that's what I draw from. I draw from, what does the research say about this particular topic? What works for students according to the research? What works for our staff according to the research? And what is the data telling us? And how can we share that in a way that is understandable to those individuals that might differ in those opinions? So I believe it has to be a dialogue, a back and forth where we're listening, but also sharing from key sources that are well represented.
Thank you. All righty, Mrs. Alice, would you like me to repeat the question? How do you discuss topics where there is strong disagreement and remain civil? Said another way, how can the board work together with differing opinions?
Well, the first thing that as a board member you have to understand is that no one board member has any legal authority unless the board takes action. And so understanding that and knowing that brings you into a different ballgame when you're having these discussions, because we know that once our board policy states that once we leave that dais and a vote has been taken, we don't, if we have disagreed, we are a body corporate. That is how we operate. So any decision made by board action is a decision that I support, whether I agreed with it at the time of its vote taking or not. So I think to understand a trustee position, you have to have been in an independent public school district. Even with my kids, I started to learn that process early on as I came to the board meetings. I came to board meetings for a couple of years before I ever thought about running for board. So that's how you do it.
This is going to segue very closely. The next question is going to segue into what you just said. If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
I think that a lot of what I just said is part of it. It's just like in the PTA, when the PTA executive board votes, and that is in, a lot of times that may be a decision that's made in an executive session where there's nobody else there. The last thing you need is somebody to come out and say, I didn't agree with this decision. We also have to, as board members, remember that our role is governance. It is not administration. And I think that you would find in our community that those roles are not really understood, and it really is only understood when you're in an independent school district. And so those are the underlying governance, and just that knowing that my vote is only one of 7 votes. It is not the overlying vote.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question? If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
I believe in the team of 8. So just as Katherine said, once a decision is made, once a policy is in place, I would support that policy. I would uphold that policy. And as the vote is in progress, I will absolutely stand up for what I think is best for students and staff. But once that decision is made, we've made a decision, and we're going to move forward with it as a team of 8.
Thank you. The next question. The STAR. The STAR test is a requirement. All students have to pass this test in order to graduate from high school. What resources would you commit to ensure our students' success?
Absolutely. So one of the things that we have to recognize is that STAR is one data point, not every data point. And I think that that's something that this district has done a really great job of making sure that STAR is not the end-all, be-all. But that being said, we do have disparities across this district where we have students in some schools that are performing really well and students in others that are not. We have 5 elementary schools that all of their 90% or more of their students are passing STAR, but we also have 5 elementary schools where over half of the students are not being successful. So you're right, we have to commit those resources to it. One of the things that I've noticed in some of the finances is that our commitment to curriculum and professional development is lower than the state average. So I'd want to look at what are our professional development offerings and how can we increase the support for professional development, especially having worked in a professional development organization, not just one and done, but ongoing coaching.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat?
Yes, please.
The STAR test is a requirement. All students have to pass this test in order to graduate from high school. What resources would you commit to ensure our students' success?
Well, I think that the one thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that those campuses where we do have those students not passing, that the resources, that we are putting the resources to there. I would like to better address the STAR test. I think that it's a failed system. If you look, STAR, 100%, it's not 100%. When you use the terms approaches in any other industry in the world, that means that you're not there. The term approaches in STAR means at grade level. Masters is 2 to 3 grade levels above. Mastery in any other industry in the world declares that you know the subject matter. So I would actually, and we were on the forefront of community-based accountability systems, and we have done our profile sheets, and that is the direction I would continue.
Thank you. Our next question. What is your view of homeschool, private schools, and charter school students participating in extracurricular activities in the public schools?
Well, having many homeschool friends, I will tell you that their tax dollars account for many of our funds. And so I think that if we could find a way to make it work without overburdening the campuses, and that is the trick. There's a fine balance there in determining what is best for kids. And so we already offer things like speech therapy for private school and homeschool children. And so if we've done a really great job, and I know we have because I have private school and homeschool friends that have taken advantage of those services, then I think it's something to continually explore. But we have to also make sure that we're getting funding from the state for those students that would be coming back onto our campus, because without the funding, we would never be able to do them justice or serve our other students that are full-time students.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I think I got it.
Alrighty.
I agree that if we can make it work, that it's something that we could look into. I'd really want to see the data on how many of those students are requesting those services and what kind of burden that would put on our schools and campuses. Because we're already facing an enormous teacher shortage, and a lot of those extracurriculars are done by our teachers after hours, volunteering their time to help those extracurriculars happen. And they're already overworked, overburdened, and we don't have enough of them. So if that's a huge need, we really have to look at, do we have the capacity to fill it? And if we don't, I think we have to prioritize our staff members' time and well-being and not overburden them with that.
The next question. How do you see Lewisville ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
That's a great question. And I have a background where I did teach in a charter school because I had my certification out of state and couldn't get a job until I worked out my certification with the State Board of Education. And so I've seen both the good, the bad, and the ugly of what happens in charter schools, which is why I'm back in public schools, just to put that in perspective. But one of the things that charter schools do is they find niches, and they find a way to meet a very specific need, not always successfully, but that's their branding, that's their marketing. And so I think we've started in that direction with Lewisville ISD in creating some of these choice programs through our STEM academies and dual language and some of these pieces that really attract those kinds of students that might look to those other school platforms or programs. And I think we need to continue to do that, to look at what other choice programs we can bring into the district so that instead of looking outside of the district for those kinds of programming, they're looking inside the district and have no reason to go anywhere else.
Thank you. Would you like me to repeat? How do you see Lewisville ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
Well, I think that one of the ways, and this has been one of the things that I ran on in 2016, we had just opened our Tech East, but we were looking at our Tech West and that bond that did pass. And it's really making LISD the destination that every student wants to be in. And I think that we are seeing that, and not only offering so much that we dilute the choices down to where the students cannot excel in what they do, but just as just a point, my mentee, who I've had for 6 years, she wants to go into law enforcement, and now she has the choice to do that. It's not something that she would have ever done before. So I think that we have to really market ourselves, and we have done that. We are the best schools in Texas.org. And so that is something that's happened since I have been on this board. We continue to make strides in making STEM academies, allowing our staff that want to teach in STEM academies to become fully certified. And that is the direction.
Thank you. Alrighty, this is the last question before closing remarks.
Okay.
How can the governing board of the Lewisville ISD School Board, sorry, I repeated the board part, improve its image in the community?
Well, I think that that is one of those things where we have to be out, and that's one thing that I have the availability. I had a job when I first started this role, and I saw that. I saw that kids were leaving LISD, and I made it my job, my goal. This is all I do. And in order to do that, you have to be available, and I am available. You can ask any of our staff at the last minute, you need somebody to be at a breakfast in the morning, I'll be there, because I'm going to be telling the story of LISD, and that is how it happens. We've become involved in chambers, with civic organizations, with nonprofits. There are things that are only available during the day, and those are the things that I strive to be a part of. There's been very few nonprofits that I've been asked to join their board that I haven't joined their board. We're bringing one of the organizations that I belong to. We're bringing a grocery store into DeLay Middle School. They used me as a resource for information, and that is how you have to be out there.
Thank you. Would you like me to read the question?
Go ahead.
Okay. How can the governing board of Lewisville ISD improve its image in the community?
I think it takes transparency and communication. I really commend Dr. Rapp that one of her first points of action was communication, and she made sure that she was getting that communication out there as soon as she hit the ground running. And I think that's something that the board could do a better job of, is so that the community sees that communication, whether it's on social media or whether it's on other platforms, being involved within those newsletters, so that people see the faces and the board in the schools, because I know the board members are visiting schools, but not everyone sees that. So I think that that communication piece can be really ramped up. And then transparency about how some of those decisions get made. Of course, we are a team of 8, so we can't share every in and out of the decision making, but what are some of the things that led up to that decision? What was some of the data that was analyzed to make that decision? Some of those pieces could be shared with the community so that the community sees how the decisions are made.
Great, thank you. And now we'll go to closing remarks, and you get to begin again.
Right. I'm really passionate about education. I've made it my life's work. I got my PhD in educational leadership and policy studies. I've been in education my entire career. I want to make sure that I can help serve this community to make sure that every student, mine included, has the best possible education that they can have in this district. I love what I'm seeing at my daughter's school, and I want to make sure that every school has that same sort of opportunity for every child in this district. So I hope that you will vote for me, Dr. Staci Barker, for place 4 on May 7th.
Thank you. All righty.
Well, once again, thank you all. Thank you to the Lewisville Council of PTAs for having this. I don't think that there's anybody that's been more transparent in my almost 20 years of serving this district. And I will tell you that I will continue to serve just as I have. I'm very proud of the things that we have done in this district. And leading in that direction, we are known across the state. And it's not by chance. It's by the direction of the board, which I have been proudly a member of. And I want to continue to make sure that not only the PTA motto of every child's potential be a reality, but that also plays right into our LISD motto, that it's a future that they design. And we've been very creative in doing that, and I want to continue. So please keep Katherine on May the 7th. I would appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies, very much.
Thank you, ladies. And so now we will have place 3 candidates.
So I lied. You might have different questions. Over next door in Grapevine, Colleyville, we usually have everyone up there at once, and we go down the row, so everyone has the same question, right? And we're all sometimes mixed with places. This is a different setup, and I didn't realize that. And so I told Tiran, no, you can't ask, person on place 4 one question and person on place 4 a different question. They need equal questions. So you may have overlap, you may not. So we'll see. We'll keep it fun, right? But we'll start with a 1-minute intro, and with you, Mr. Griffith.
Hi, my name is Samuel Griffith, and I am running for LISD Board of Trustees. got my notes here. I have lived here for 39 years. I've got 4 generations of my family going back to before LISD was formed back in 1902. I went to church across the street. I fundraised for my Boy Scout troop back when this was in Albertsons, so I have tons of ties to this community here. My birthday is coming up this Sunday. Early voting starts the next day. I'd appreciate the gift there if you prefer. But I'm running to serve this community and give something back. I went to LISD myself. And I think that LISD has been doing a fantastic job, and they've had a board that's shown a consistent commitment to improving the quality of education in this community, and I would just want to be a part of that and add my voice to it.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Mrs. Johnson?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Pam Johnson, and I'm running for place 3 on the Lewisville School Board. Together, my husband and I have graduated 4 kids from the district, so we've been in the district a long time. I am running to maintain our academic excellence, promote our wonderful vocational programs that we have, encourage our students to get involved, because if a student is plugged into different things like clubs and sports and fine arts, and they perform better in school and take more pride in their community. And I'm also want to fight for our traditional values that are in our schools, and I just hope that you support me. My name is Pam Johnson.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Taylor?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Taylor, and I'm running for the LISD Board of Trustees, Place 3. I am a 25-year CPA, a little tired for Monday. I am also a veteran. I am also, which is probably my most favorite title, a mom of a child that is currently in the district. She's a 6th grader at Huffines Middle School. I could talk about my background, but I only have 1 minute, so I'll let you go to my website to read that. But I will say that I am running, obviously, on financial transparency and conservatism, looking for relief there, any relief that can be found there as a 20-year homeowner and taxpayer. I'm also running on board transparency and collaboration with the spirit of working together with the parents, the teachers, our students, our community, and all stakeholders. Also running to make sure that we have the superior educational experience across the district, no matter what your zip code is in the district, and also wanting to make sure that I continue to support teachers and that we continue to promote our great programs throughout the district.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Alrighty, Ms. Johnson, your question number 1, and it's a different one, so
Okay.
Element of surprise, right? Schools are valuable community resources. There is a growing movement to have schools become neighborhood resource centers, open to the community earlier in the morning and later in the evening for a variety of uses. Are you aware of this concept, and would you support it? What activities would you like to see available during these times?
Well, I'm not really aware of that program that wants to take place. I can see where it could have some benefits, but I'm not real sure if I would support that. I think that would be extra. If we have to keep our buildings open longer, I think that's an extra expense to the district. Whether we're opening early and staying late than our normal hours, that would be an extra expense. And I believe we need to kind of conserve our expenses.
Thank you. Ms. Taylor, would you like me to repeat the question?
Sure.
It's a long one. Schools are valuable community resources. There is a growing movement to have schools become neighborhood resource centers, open to the community earlier in the morning and later in the evening for a variety of uses. Are you aware of this concept, and would you support it? What activities would you like to see available during these times?
I also was not aware of those activities, but I do see in my child's current school, I like that the schools are open earlier so that when parents have to work, their kids have somewhere to go. I also like that we have tutoring programs that are available early morning and late into the evenings, and that we have those options in place, again, for parents that might work longer or parents that are struggling to make sure that their children meet certain educational outcomes and standards. As far as the community, I would feel, maybe because I'm a community activist as well, involved with churches and other organizations, that those are better places to serve the community, but to keep our schools focused on our students.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith, would you like me to repeat?
Please.
Alrighty. Schools are valuable community resources. There is a growing movement to have schools become neighborhood resource centers, open to the community earlier in the morning and later in the evening for a variety of uses. Are you aware of this concept, and would you support it? What activities would you like to see available during these times?
So I was aware of these activities going on, and I absolutely adore this idea. The flexibility that these services can provide to parents and the community is absolutely invaluable, from tutoring sessions to the possibility of meal provided to the local community as a community kitchen that can be revenue generative. I really approve these types of uses of our public buildings. The end.
Thank you. Alrighty, our next question. Eve. Ms. Taylor, you're up next, right? If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
My responsibility is to present a united front. So whatever the board decides, being one member of the board, when we go out into the public, whatever discussions we've had or any disagreements, we have to come together with that decision. I've been in that situation. I will say that I think I'm pretty influential. And while we're going through the discussion, I would try to change minds. But again, having served on the board, presided over a National Accounting Society board, presiding over a breast cancer awareness organization board, when you make those decisions and you're outvoted, you accept those decisions and move forward as a united front to the community or to the public.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith, go ahead and read. Okay. If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
So being part of that board is all about the power of teamwork. Everyone on that board brings skills to incorporate different consensus, needs, priorities, and kind of synthesize all of that into like strong policies. And once that policy has been decided upon, we present a unified front behind that policy and move forward strongly.
Excellent, thank you. Would you like me to read the question? Of course, I exited out of this real quick to check on something and need to pull it back up. If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you did not support that policy or action?
Well, when we vote, we are a team of 8, and we have to work together, and we vote. And however we vote, whether we disagree or not, we have to make that vote together, and that's how we have to support that as a team. When we go out in the public, we have to support. We are a team, and we've made a decision, and we have to support that.
Thank you. All righty, Mr. Griffith, you're up next. The STAR test is a requirement. All students have to pass this test in order to graduate from high school. What resources would you commit to ensure our students' success?
So the STAR test itself, there are pros and cons to the standardized testing of the STAR. Not going into that, the people who are struggling obviously need the resources that could be provided to them to make sure that they get what they need to pass the test and having meaningful education to succeed and move on. It's important to note that the people who on these tests, they're not necessarily determinant of their abilities, but it's a teaching aid to understand where a student is and how they can progress and proceed. I think that's very important when we look at these tests. But I think anything that we can do for these students to succeed should be provided.
Great, thank you. Ms. Johnson, would you like me to read the question again?
No, I'm okay.
Okay.
Who really likes the STAR test, right? The teachers don't like to give it. The kids get stressed out about it. It's really hard on our students. They have the test anxiety. I know my daughter had test anxiety with STAR test. She could pass everything, but when that STAR test, she would struggle. I think there needs to be a better way to test our kids on the subjects that they are learning. If we can, come up with a better way to do away with the STAR test, I think that would be great. But otherwise, we need to, just kind of pitch in and see what we need to do to get our kids to pass it.
Great, thank you. Ms. Taylor, would you like me to repeat?
No. I, too, agree that I'm not a fan of the STAR test. I don't think that anyone is. I would like to see it overhauled and like to see a task force work on doing that and come up with a better way to determine our students' outcomes. That being said, we have the STAR test, and so the best thing that we can do is to provide resources in the way of tutoring, additional staff if we need to make sure that our children pass. Also, as a parent, I think we should have more parent involvement as well and leverage the technology that the district already provides to use some of those programs to help reinforce some of the learning.
Excellent, thank you. Alrighty, we are going to move to question number 4, and you get a new question again, not a repeat.
That's okay.
Alrighty, Ms. Johnson. What is your view of school board administration's relationships as they relate to management of school district operations?
I think our board works very well with our administrative. We have a great administrative staff. And I think, our board, they're doing a great job. There's a great relationship between the two. So I think, we just continue to work with our staff and our admins and build that strong relationship that we have that communication, open communication with them.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Taylor, would you
I
like
need
me-
that question again.
Of course.
Thank you.
What is your view of school board administration's relationships as they relate to management of school district operations?
I think when I think of the board, I think of governance versus true management. I think that's the management and administration day to day is left in the hands of the superintendent, and that the board has a governance role where they are coming up with policies and procedures. They may even work with fundraising and corporate partnerships, but that management is left to the superintendent, and that the superintendent checks in with the board, is reviewed by the board to discuss outcomes, to see if there are any changes or adjustments that need to be made. And I think the board will work best, again, in that governance role.
Great, thank you. Mr. Griffith, would you like me to repeat?
Please.
What is your view of school board administration's relationships as they relate to the management of school district operations?
So having met with a lot of LISD management, I am really happy with the relationship that they have with the board. LISD's administration has been doing an incredible job with the public trust that's been given to them, and the board, appointing many of the members in that administration, has been doing a good job selecting the people who are going to do a fantastic job. Dr. Rapp, I think, is an amazing administrator and is going to do a fantastic job, bringing this district into its next level.
Excellent, thank you. Alrighty, next question, Ms. Taylor. What is your position regarding self-esteem and self-worth educational programs?
I believe it's important. I think when we think education, we tend to think textbooks, but really it's the whole person as far as education goes. I think making sure that students feel good about themselves is something that we can do, that teachers should be doing, giving praise when needed, helping them with conflict resolution when they need it, helping them to understand their place in this world, not taking away from the parents who should be doing that, but we'd be crazy to think that all parents are doing that. And I think what I found in public school was a safe place. I didn't have a mom, I didn't have a dad, and I really found those things in school, and so I would really support doing that. Again, it's about the whole child and the parents and the teachers working together to make sure that they grow up to be those productive citizens that will be successful in this world.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Mr. Griffith? What is your position regarding self-esteem and self-worth educational programs?
So I could have done with a bit more of that when I attended LISD. I think that the ability to gain and grow confidence in the safe environments that schools provide is key to the development of everyone. Schools provide an impact of instilling virtues just by their sheer existence of like interacting with the public. And so allowing a place where people can gain and secure confidence in themselves is just tantamount and paramount to a part of a full education.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, would you like me to repeat? What is your position regarding self-esteem and self-worth educational programs?
You know, children do great when we praise them, when they do good, when they feel valued. And I think it's important that we continue to lift these students up, praise them for their good work, because it makes them take more pride in their education. And then as they grow, they become more confident in things that they do. So when we put students out into the community after they've graduated, gone to college, they have the confidence to go out and do great things.
Thank you. Alrighty, question number 6. Mr. Griffith, what guidelines do you think should be adopted by Lewisville ISD with regard to bullying?
So I am not an expert on bullying except being on the receiving end of it. Though there are people here and in the administration who have made it their life's work to learn about and analyze types and addressing these in our learning environments. And as part of a team, I would bow to the expertise of other board members in relation to this, but you know, bullying should not be a thing.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson.
Yes, you know what, I agree. We should not allow any type of bullying. I know Mr. Hicks does a great job with our students on that subject, and he goes around and he talks to our students. He's doing a great job. I think it's a great program. No child should be bullied or made feel less inadequate. So I think it's a good program.
Excellent, thank you. Ms. Taylor.
Bullying has no place in LISD, and I'm happy to note that in both schools that my child has attended, Valley Ridge and now Huffines, that there are anti-bullying programs in place, which I would assume that are replicated throughout this district. I think there needs to be a commitment to provide a safe and welcome learning environment for every child, regardless of where in the district that child lives. And I think that commitment has been there. That commitment is there for LISD, and we need to continue that. As far as being a parent of a child, when she comes home and mentions anything, I am on her. Her teachers know me. The principal knows me, that I don't care what you're doing, don't make someone feel bad. And whatever you do, you may not even think it's bullying. It could be, and I'm not raising you that way. And to stop it whenever I see it with her friends.
Thank you. Alrighty, last question of the evening for your place. Ms. Johnson, we're going to go with you. What is the appropriate relationship between the Lewisville ISD governing board and site-based decision-making committees?
Site-based decision-making committees, we have several different committees throughout the district, and I think our board listens to the different committees when they present things to them, and I think our board really takes pride in our committees, and they really take the feedback and they listen to it and they make decisions based on what these committees are reporting back to them. So I think they're doing a great job with that.
Great, thank you. Ms. Taylor, would you like me to repeat?
No. I think the job of the board, as I mentioned earlier, is really governance and oversight, and to provide that oversight to those committees. Obviously, there's work that's going to be done at the committee level, but it's up to the board to decide how to move forward using its role in governance and oversight.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith, repeat.
Mm-hmm.
What is the appropriate relationship between the Lewisville ISD governing board and site-based decision-making committees?
With all the committees that exist in LISD, being such a huge institution, it's important that the board have the skills to incorporate these different inputs from all different realms of special expertise and kind of bring them together to synthesize really strong and effective policies. So it's important that we work together as a team to get these policies.
Great, thank you. Alrighty, we're now ready for closing remarks, and Ms. Taylor, you get to begin.
Thank you. I'm here because I'm passionate. You know, this isn't a game to me. This is important. It's about the education of every child. It's why I'm here. Public education, I'm a fan and a proponent because public education gave me, a poor black child without a mom and a dad living in the poorest county in Mississippi, the ability to dream that I could be a CPA and join an elite group where less than 2% of the CPAs are black nationally. Public education gave me the ability to dream. Teachers gave me the ability to see what I could become. And that is why I'm here, so that all of the children in this district can dream those big dreams and realize those big dreams. I was told not to run. You know, you don't have enough money. You're not connected enough. You're not popular. And then I picked my child up from school today with her friends, and I was reminded of my why. We wish we could vote for you, Miss Sheila. And it reminded me why I'm here, to fight, to be a voice for these kids, to be an advocate, to fight for them, just like I fought against breast cancer 3 times, just like I fought for this country as a veteran. And that's why I'm here. And I won't stop running. I will keep running, again, to make sure that every child in this district, regardless of zip code, has the best possible outcome and the tools and resources they need to be successful.
Thank you. Mr. Griffith.
So I am a retired IT wizard, and I went through my entire 2 decades of working, solving other people's problems, and now I'm here to come into a district to find that there's a lot of people who already want to solve a lot of the problems. I'm here to listen to people with these problems, parents, teachers, students, administrators, and provide my voice to help solve that problem, and that might be listening to somebody else who also hears that problem. Being part of this team and learning with that organization as it grows and transitions into a larger and even more influential district is going to be an experience that I think we are headed towards to become the destination district for education in Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Griffith. Ms. Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. I think an informed voter makes really good decisions. Thank you, Mr. Hicks, for all the work you're doing with the Council of PTAs and putting this together. I appreciate it so much. Once again, my name is Pam Johnson, and I'm on the ballot for Place 3 for Lewisville School Board. And I would just ask that I'm asking for your prayers and for your vote on May the 7th. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much. Alrighty. Is it Mr. Bowen?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. And you just said it, but this Proznik?
Yes, very good.
Proznik. Okay. Got it. Perfect. We will begin. And Mr. Bowen, if you want to start with your 1-minute introduction.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me out tonight. My name's Chris Bowen, and I'm running for LISD Board of Trustees, Place 5. So one of the main reasons why I wanted to get involved and I'm looking to get on the Board of Trustees is I have kids that are getting ready to enter the district. So I want to make sure that our district continues the way that it has been going for the last several years. I want to make sure that we keep our district as academically proficient as we can. And I think that having kids that are getting ready to enter the district is a big qualification for that. You know, what better way of wanting the district to succeed is there than to actually have a vested interest? So the other way that I have a vested interest is that my wife, Courtney, is a teacher within LISD. So I hope you guys consider me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Ms. Proznik.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the LISD Council PTAs for putting this on. I think it's important to hear from people who want to lead your schools. I've put on this event, so I know the time that it takes as a PTA member all the way from kindergarten through high school, where I had the opportunity to actually lead the PTA at Hebron High School. I've had the honor and privilege of serving in Place 5 for the last 6 years, making LISD a great district. I've also had the opportunity to see this district from kindergarten to a high school graduation. So I know what it takes at each and every level. I can relate to parents as they come to me with their questions about what's happening in middle schools. Our schools are the cornerstones to our communities, and I want to keep them strong. I want to keep LISD moving forward. I want to make us the district that I know that we can be. LISD is amazing, but it's not perfect. And that's why you should constantly and consistently keep moving forward.
Thank you. All righty, we're going to move into our questions. Are you ready? Glasses on again. We're going to say that one again. Statistics show child abuse is an increasing problem both nationally and locally. Do you believe that it is a legitimate function of public schools to inform students about their rights regarding physical and sexual abuse and the agencies to which they may turn to for help?
We're actually required to by law. I'll go back to 2020 when we shut down for COVID. The reports of child abuse went down to almost nothing because children weren't in schools, because they weren't being seen by teachers on a daily basis. Teachers are on the front lines of responding and advocating for those students who especially cannot advocate for themselves. We are also required by law, per the Texas legislature, to provide education on dating abuse, sexual abuse to students. So it's part of the function of our school district that the legislature has applied upon us. I also think it's a moral function to always to protect children.
Great, thank you. Mr. Bowen, would you like me to repeat it?
No, it's okay. Absolutely. I think that that's very important. You know, our teachers are around these kids every single day, and it's their job to make sure that they're taken care of, not just in the classroom, but to make sure that they're taken care of at home as well. So absolutely, I would absolutely support that.
Great, thank you. Next question. Lewisville Independent School District has had to cut many programs, reduce staff, and has been unable to make all needed upgrades and refurbish its facilities due to inadequate funding. As a school board member, what action, if any, would you take to adequately fund our schools? And specifically, would you support accepting federal funding grants?
To answer the last part of the question, absolutely. We should always be willing to accept grants as they come in and be applying for them. But I also think that we have a due diligence as a board to be financially responsible as well. And so it depends on what's currently being cut as to, you know, how we should apply that money. So. Thank you.
Would you like me to read that one again?
I would tell you that I'm unaware of any programs or staffing that we've cut. I am aware of that we staff per student need in our district, which makes us unique, which was accounted for in our governance audit. As far as facilities, we passed, I thank the community very much for passing the 2017 bond package that allowed us to do our 20-year refreshes on our buildings, to build Tech West, and to make the improvements across the district. We were also, as a board, very frugal in selling surplus land so that we could purchase our school buses, taking money out, using the money to purchase the buses, so we created more capacity in our maintenance and operations, and that's where you put the money into the classroom.
Great, thank you. Our next question. We've had this one every round. If elected, once the Lewisville ISD School Board votes to approve an action or policy, what do you believe is your responsibility to that policy or action, especially if you do not support that policy or action?
I would say past behavior is future behavior. I've certainly been on, if you will, the minority on the board when passing something. I've also been on the majority. And every time, after it's done, it is the will of the board.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen?
I believe it's our job as a trustee to be a united front. So whether that's a vote that you agree on, don't agree on, I believe it's the board's responsibility to be united no matter what.
Thank you. Our next question is also a repeat question, but a good one. The STAR test is a requirement. All students have to pass this test in order to graduate from high school. What resources would you commit to ensure our students' success?
Yeah, I think that the district's already doing that. They are implementing a lot of different things to help with the STAR test, but we also need to realize that the STAR test, in most people's opinion, is a failed system, and we need to look at other data points as well to make sure that we're serving those children's needs, not just to meet a standard, but for their needs as a whole.
Great, thank you.
There is a way for a student to graduate who hasn't passed the STAR test, and that's through an independent graduation committee at the high schools. And that's where a panel of administrators and teachers look at artifacts such as actual test grades in that classroom and artifacts of writing samples, et cetera, to see if the student can pass and receive their diploma. It is part of the failed system of STAR that is so high stakes for our students. I agree that it should be a data point, but it shouldn't be a nail in the coffin for our students' success.
Thank you. Our next question is going to be, how can you work with the PTA to enrich our community?
The greatest determiner in any student's success is a caring adult. Bottom line. And that's what PTA does best. That's what every PTA I've been involved with did best, and that's what PTAs do best. They bring community into our schools, and they show kids that somebody from outside cares about them through programs, enrichment programs, and supporting programs within the schools. I think that we have a great relationship with our PTAs. I'd like to see all of our schools have a PTA. I have the pleasure of being a member of 3 of our PTAs, where I have kids that I mentor at those campuses. And I think it's important. I think it's an important relationship that the PTA has with the school and with the community. It's one of our cornerstones. Education is a shared responsibility, and I think that that is also a cornerstone of PTA.
Thank you. Mr. Bowen?
Can you repeat the question?
I can. How can you work with the PTA to enrich our community?
I think it's very important to have a great relationship as a board member with the PTA. I mean, those are our parents that are in our school systems. You know, those are parents that are involved, that have kids, where they want the best for them, they want to be involved, and they want to be a part of the process. And so I think it is very important to make sure that we have that great relationship with them and develop those relationships.
Thank you. Our next question. What is the appropriate relationship between the Lewisville ISD Governing Board and site-based decision-making committees?
So I believe that it's the job of the board to listen to those committees. Ultimately, those were put together to have input given to the board. And so I think it's really important to make sure that we're listening to the input that they're giving for whatever that committee is. But ultimately, it's the board's decision on how to move forward. But it should always be taken into consideration.
Thank you.
It depends on the committee, quite frankly. There are lots of committees that we have across LISD. For example, our budget committee. I'm very interested in what they have to say because it's a set of fresh eyes. I don't think you can have too many people looking at our budget. I don't think you can have too many people in the room giving ideas. Feedback from those committees is paramount because they are also a lifeline to the community. But I would say I'm also out in the community, so I'm hearing from the community. These committees are from specialized groups, like our budget committee is very heavy with bankers and finance people who understand the language of budgets. And so listening to them is another way and another perspective beyond our administration to see if we can start doing some out-of-the-box thinking.
Great, thank you. Our next question. How do you feel about Head Start? How should it be funded?
Well, Head Start doesn't exist anymore. What we do have in LISD is full day preschool. Every study shows the earlier you can get a child in school, the better off that they do, especially children who come from homes where education is not has not been a tradition in their home, or especially students who come from a home where they speak a different language. It is a head start to getting them on the path to being a bilingual student. Works. It works in many ways. It works not only with education and phonics and letter and number identification, but also works in the socialization and learning how to work well with others and how to work in a school environment.
Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, that's okay. I think that preschool is a fantastic program, full day and half day. I believe that it gives those kids a head start as they enter into kindergarten and then on to first grade. I believe the earlier that we can reach them, the better, especially in a lot of our schools. And so I think that we should find every way possible to make sure that we continue to fund that.
Excellent, thank you. Alrighty, y'all's last question, and I don't know if you noticed, you're actually having 8 questions instead of 7. That little PTA question was just stuck in there for fun. A last-minute text that I did not read until right now. So I'm sorry to the 2 earlier places that they missed it. So your last question before closing. How do you see Lewisville ISD responding to the competition of charter schools and private schools?
You know, I think they've done a fantastic job of that, especially with their STEM academies, their dual language programs. I think that most charter schools really have tried to find a niche, and that's what they kind of cater to. But I think that LISD has done a great job of countering that and keeping those children in public schools and making sure that they can have a niche in our public school system.
Great, thank you. Ms. Proznik.
I want to give kudos to our communications department. When I ran 6 years ago, I wanted a marketing plan for LISD because I felt that public schools did what a lot of public schools did. We're here, we're great, but no one ever really told anybody our story. And so we developed a marketing plan. We have a marketing director who tells our story, with the bestschoolsintexas.com that is on our buses, that tells our story through chambers memberships, that tells our story through the Loop, that tells our story through media stories that are given out to local outlets, newspapers, and television stations. You tell your story, because once you tell the LISD story, there's no way nobody wants to come here. We are about choices in our district. We are about endless choices in our district. We are about finding a path for every student. Because when you have a choice in your life, you have power in your life. And when you are empowered, you are a better citizen, you are a better student, you are just a better person.
Thank you. And now we will move on to our closing statements. And if you would like to go first.
Sure.
Yes, you get to.
So I do want to thank everybody for coming out. I want to tell you that local elections are not well attended. Less than 10% of the eligible voters in LISD will vote, and that's a shame. We are the largest tax bill that you have, and as I've sat on this board, myself and my board members have lowered your tax rate over 16 cents since I arrived in 2016. I would encourage you to go vote on April 25th. Early voting starts at 8 a.m. at any Denton County polling location. Call a friend. Tell them to vote. The best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. I have attended every board meeting for the last 6 years, and actually 3 years before that. I show up prepared every time. I have been an advocate for students across this district, small groups and large groups. I advocate for them like I advocated for my own kids, because I think it's that important. Jenny Proznik, and I'm seeking re-election for Place 5 on the Lewisville Independent School Board.
I just want to start by saying thank you for everybody for coming out tonight. Thank you to our Council of PTAs for hosting this forum. It's much appreciated. Again, my name's Chris Bowen. I am running to be the voice for my children and your children as well. I want to make sure that we continue our academic excellence in LISD, and I hope that I can earn your vote for LISD Board of Trustees Place 5. Thank you guys so much for your time this evening.
Well, that was quick and painless. I guess because I didn't have to talk. I want to say thank you to all the candidates. I want to say thank you to our incredible ISD members that are here tonight. I want to say thank you to the parents that are here. But most importantly, I want to say thank you to the parents. Nothing can change unless we're ready to change. And being council president for the last 2 years, one of the most important things that I've ever found out is that our kids are not our future, they're our now. We have to fight for our babies now. So regardless of who you vote for, just know that you're advocating for our children. Our babies need you. Our babies need you like no other. Just know that we, as your PTA, your Council of PTAs, we are so grateful for the hard work and dedication that the current board and the future board will do for our children. Nothing can be done unless we're willing to do it together, because there's no I in team. And just know that you all are very important to us. To our incredible timekeepers, thank you so much. They are our 3 o'clock timekeepers, because my midnight timekeepers, they still ain't here. So thank you. To our communications, thank you guys for being here tonight. We truly appreciate you. Rachel, you did an incredible job. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Miss Hospitality, thank you for just being Sheila as only you can. I appreciate you. None of this is possible without Liz. Liz Haas is our she's our puzzle. She's our problem solver. And you know how you do those jigsaw puzzles and you got that one piece you can't find? Liz finds it. So thank you, Liz, for being that person. Candidates, I wish you the best. Thank you for being incredible. Thank you for just being you. We are truly grateful. I, Teron Hicks, your council president, I am truly grateful to all of you all for showing up tonight. And you guys that live streamed, we love y'all. I want to say thank you. Jennifer, thank you for being here. And like all good things, good night. This is over. Thank you. Lady, you are incredible.